let's get to our good friend that is with us from Storycorps. Dave Isay is with us. And Dave, I want to be sure. Dave, am I saying your name right?
You are. You're one in a million. Thank you so much,
All right,
John.
Dave Isay. I'm saying his name right. Dave and his legendary nonprofit Storycorps, go to storycorps.com, thinks he's found one major part of how to get people together because we're so divided. And you can even hear the callers on my show. Everybody's mad at everybody. You got the Trump voters over here. You got the Biden voters over there. You got the Democrats over here. You got the Trump voters over here. Republicans and Democrats actually do get along. It's really the Trump voters that are upset with everybody and those that hate them. So, Dave, tell me about Storycorps and what you have in mind.
Thanks, John. No, I appreciate it. And the website is actually storycorps.org, CORPS. So we've been around for 17 years, doing something very different than what I'm going to talk to you about on the phone today. We have booths that travel all around the country. We're kind of in the human connection business. We have booths that travel around the country. You bring your grandmother, grandfather, anyone who you want to honor to one of these booths, make an appointment. Everything's free. We're a nonprofit in every possible way. You come to this booth with your grandfather. You're met by someone who works for Storycorps, who brings you inside, and you're in this kind of soundproof room. The lights are low. It's kind of a holy, sacred space. And you sit across from your grandfather for 40 minutes, and you listen and you talk to him. And I knew I was in radio for decades before starting Storycorps, and I know, as you do, that the microphone gives you the license to talk about things you don't normally get to talk about. So from the very beginning of Storycorps, people thought of this as if I had 40 minutes left to live. What would I say to my grandfather? What would I ask my grandfather? What are the important things to say? At the end of the 40 minutes, you get a copy, and another one stays with us and goes to the Library of Congress. So your great-great-great-great-great-grandkids can get to know your grandfather through his voice and story. So we've had about 650,000 people participate. This is all American, all across America. So it's the largest collection of human voices ever gathered, and we're kind of collecting the wisdom of humanity. So it's really about, recognizing the beauty and the grace and the stories of just all of us, regular people. This is no famous people, regular people just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to listen. So we have started a new thing, which is why I'm on your show, and you talked about the political divisions. The organization became concerned. I became concerned 5 or 6 years ago about how, we don't just disagree with each other anymore. We hate each other across the divides, and the dangers of that a democracy can't survive in a swamp of mutual contempt. There are studies out even in the last couple of weeks that we hate our neighbors more than our traditional international adversaries, the Russians and so forth. So, which is bonkers. I mean, it's just nuts. So we started testing a new way of doing Storycorps. Again, every one of these hundreds and hundreds of thousands of interviews have been between people who love each other. And we've started testing something called One Small Step, which is just one small step of helping us, remember that the people who are neighbors are just people. There's this saying, it's hard to hate up close. So basically what this is you sign up and you get paired with a stranger. Now, because of COVID, everything's remote. And you have a Storycorps conversation on this special kind of platform with a stranger. You don't know their last name. You just get a little bio. You send a bio to them. And if you're a Republican, you sit with a Democrat. Democrat sits with a Republican. You don't talk about politics. You just talk about your lives. And again, it's just to remind us that no matter what's going on in politics, our neighbors are just people. One small step. And the dream is to remind the country that it's our patriotic duty, which I believe it is, to see the humanity in people that we disagree with. Because when you start seeing people as less than human, that can lead to dangerous things. And you know that, and I know that.
Look,
so that's
Dave,
what it's about.
One thing that we agree with is very simple. You have to be able to have a conversation with people.
That's right.
Sometimes, and it's getting tougher. Even with me, I mean, I used to have Democrats on my show all the time. And I still get some call in, but it's getting tougher because a lot of people say, John, I love your show, but I don't really want to come on because then I get blasted by those in the liberal media for coming on your show. And it's like, okay, now you're being intimidated by your own media sycophants. And if you don't have a conversation, like if they ask me to come on, I'll come on. I mean, I did CNN for years, and I did the Donald Lemon show. We never agreed on anything, but off camera, we had a great relationship. He's a class act, and I always had fun with him. But we're getting to a point now where you can't have a conversation with people, and that is not a good place to be in.
I agree, and at some point our democracy could crumble. It's not a joke, and I mean I don't want to overstate it, but when you start seeing the people that you disagree with as and this is not, again, it's not about arguing. Like, we should be arguing with each other. That's helpful. It's about hating each other and fearing each other and wanting to destroy each other. And, I don't want to overstate it, but you go back to, Nazi Germany and the Nazis called Jews and other people Untermenschen, less than human. And we got to stop it, and I hope that, you can help turn it around, and maybe people will start coming on your show again. We are focused. I know that you have a lot of listeners in Richmond. And we've been testing this for years because our, Hippocratic oath, our like the doctor's oath, is that we do no harm to people. So we've been testing putting strangers together for years. And we have something that really works. It's based on one of the oldest, most studied theories in the history of psychology called contact theory, that says under very specific circumstances, if you put people who think they hate each other face to face and they have a conversation, that hate can melt away and they can see each other in a new way. So we hope that we just started scaling this nationally. Again, we have our dream, our moonshot is that we change the way that we look at each other in the country. And, there's through social media and otherwise, there's a many billion dollar hate industrial complex. There are people who get very rich off getting us to hate each other. And we want to try and stand as a force against that. We picked 4 cities to launch this in, and really start to scale. And one of them is Richmond, where I know you're based, but you're in Georgia now, right? For a couple months.
Yep.
But if there are people in Richmond or anywhere in the country who want to participate in this, you go to takeonesmallstep.org, takeonesmallstep.org, and you sign up. It's a pretty amazing experience, as you just said with Don Lemon, that off the air you guys can talk to each other. Who would guess, right? But that's what this country is about. That's what it's built on. We have to be able to get along with each other.
Who would guess? Because we would go on there and he'd cut me off, put me in timeout, call me a racist, and and yell at me and things of that nature. And this went on for 2 years. But when I went to the studio, I mean, I always got a hug, and we always talked about family and his mother, and we had great conversation off camera. And so, yeah, when we got on there, both of us knew we have different positions, and we're, fighting for what our position we believe in. But you got to be able to have a conversation. Like, I had a Democrat on the other day. I think his name was Chris Hurst. He used to be a TV guy from Blacksburg area, House of Delegates member. And, I started off asking him about the tragedy that, he went through in Roanoke with the murder of his girlfriend, like how her dad was. Just, nice thing to start, 5-year anniversary of it. It's sad, it's Christmas. And we get all pissed off. He's like, I didn't come on to talk about that. I came on to fight you on something. It's like, well, dude, I mean, yeah. I'm just trying to have a conversation about, a tragedy on Christmas. Like, what is your problem? That's what we're dealing with, Dave. Is that so many people, all they want to do is fight. They're so pissed at me and them and each other. You no longer can just have a dialogue, and it's sad and it's sick.
Yeah, and if you don't have some kind, I mean, that what you just described is the opposite of one small step. And the people who come to One Small Step know they're there to talk about the way you dealt with that is exactly correct. You find, look, I told you the big Storycorps is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people talking about their lives. And when you talk to someone, I don't care how old they are. I mean, we've had people 105 in the booth. What people really care about, like you said, it's their families. If you're 105 years old, the first thing you're going to talk about is your mom when you come into the booth. I mean, these are the things that are really important, and we've lost sight of that, and we all have that in common. We share much, much, much more in common than divides us, and we've got to figure that out again. And, I think of this a little bit like smoking cessation. At one point, smoking was, cool and sexy, and then it wasn't, and it saved a lot of lives. And right now, treating each other horribly is cool and sexy, and that's got to stop. It's got to stop. And on social media, the nastier you are, the more tweets, the more likes you get, the more. I'm not on social media. The more retweets, and it's like brain chemistry. It's all brain chemistry, and it's not healthy. it's not good for us. We've got to figure out a way to put a stop to this, or or it's dangerous for our country. Who wants to live life with this? I mean, there's polling that shows that there's an exhausted majority of about 89% of Americans who are just tired of this, and they're exhausted, they're sick of it, and they want to find a way out. And through One Small Step, we're offering a very small. I mean, I want to be, we're humble about this. It's small, but it's something. It's something, and we need something in order to start to turn the tide. Or this country is just going to be in really, really deep trouble. I mean, that example you gave of the guy coming on and you asking about a loved one who had been murdered and he starts screaming at you is an example of where this can go. It's not good.
All right, man. I appreciate, Dave, what you're doing. I appreciate you picking Richmond, which is kind of a hotbed for this, and thank you. People want more info, Dave. I say, where do they go?
So you go to takeonesmallstep.org. takeonesmallstep.org. And if you're in Richmond, you can go to takeonesmallstep.org/Richmond, and you can sign up to be a part of this. And we'd love to have, the John Fredericks Show as a partner. Everybody sign up and be a part of this and show the country how it's done. We believe in Richmond. We believe people have the courage to listen.
All right, Dave, I want to thank you for what you're doing. And I know you've been fighting for this a long time. We're certainly kindred souls on it. I have a lot of people that I'm friends with on the other side, and I have the ability to just have a conversation with them. And so many people are no longer able to do that, and that's really sad, Dave. So thanks for your work.
Maybe we'll get you and Don Lemon to do it together.
Well, you know what? I think Don would probably do that.
Let's talk about it.
You'd have to ask him.
That would be a big national news story.
I think it would be. I'm certainly willing to do it because I've posted on social media. People would say, "Oh, Don is so mean to you," and why do you keep going on the show and he's so mean to you? And I don't go on anymore. CNN since fired me. I mean, it doesn't matter that we don't agree. I like the guy. He's a good guy, and people their heads would explode. All right, man. I got to go, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Merry Christmas. Take care.
Right,
be
Dave,
well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.